Thank you to the YWCA for this tremendous recognition.
I am truly humbled.
It's not the destination, it's the journey.
You fabulous woman, you.
To be on that stage and to stand next to those women, it gave me goosebumps. You looked at those women and you're like, I want to be them.
I was speechless because of what it meant to me to be honored by this organization and to stand on the shoulders of all of the women of achievement who had come before me. It was probably right up there with like my wedding day.
Women of Achievement brought attention not only to our mission, but also to our ability to serve our mission. And that was critical.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Liz. So nice to see you.
I can hardly believe it, but this year we are getting ready for the 40th Women of Achievement. How does that land for you?
Wow. So 40 years ago, my appointment to the YWCA was announced at Women of Achievement. So That's a special anniversary for me.
Can you take us back and talk about how it all started?
The 70s were very big years for women in Columbus and throughout the country. I mean, we accomplished a lot. The YWCA, oddly enough, didn't catch on to that movement really in the way that it should have. I think if you ask somebody what the mission of the YWCA was at that time, they wouldn't be sure. Yeah. So by the time that I got there, my predecessor, Nancy Schilling, she learned that the YWCA residence was about to be condemned by the city. We were always in the red. A couple of other YWCAs in the country had started something called the Women of Achievement Luncheon. She got the idea that that might be a good thing for us to do. And no one was more surprised than they were when it sold out. And this was not the normal reception for YWCA events at that time. Wow. It began to change the perspective of the YWCA. And I would say that Women of Achievement was integral to providing a different profile for the YWCA. But I'm most proud of the fact that it became an organization that probably wouldn't have hired me. Because I was so unprepared for the work. It just took a lot of people working very hard together to create the organization that can hire someone like you and continue to create what's needed in the community for women.
Hi, Beverly. How are you? It's great to see you again. My first board was Friends of the Homeless because growing up, we'd had housing instability. It was something that spoke to me. I remember how we had this space under the viaduct on West Broad Street where families who found themselves suddenly homeless would come with just everything they could carry in a garbage bag with their kids. And I saw these faces of these kids and their mom. And it really struck me at that point as a mom that I couldn't imagine how you explain that to your kids and how we as a community could say, this is the best we could do for our families.
Can you believe we're here 20 years later?
Walking through here took me instantly back to how hard it was. I'll never forget the meeting we had in the boardroom where Sharon Schwartzwalder said to us, we have to do this. 24 women came together. We didn't know how to fundraise or build a center, but we decided we were going to do it. And as women do, we rolled up our sleeves and said, let's figure this out. The great thing about Columbus was that people recognized that as a community, we could do better. When we finally decided on this place, 7 women walked into Mayor Coleman's office, and it was, I don't know that he knew we were all on his calendar. He walked into his conference room and was like, whoa, what are you doing here? And we're like, Mayor, you got to help us. Like, we have found the location, but we're going to need you to use some political will to help us get this done. And he answered the call with us.
The YWCA Columbus Family Center officially opens its doors.
I'm not a crier. My kids would say they've rarely seen me cry. But on that day when we opened the Family Center and we stood there and we saw this building come to life that had been so long in the making, the tears just flowed. I couldn't stop myself. It's a testament to those women that I had the privilege of serving with who had their own lives, their own families, busy careers, dedicated so much time, money, and talent to getting this built. I know what we did was something special. Not many communities could have pulled this off. Every day, the Y has to be that advocate, that voice to serve, to raise up the elimination of racism and empowering women every day. It's as relevant now as it was in 1886, sadly.
A car plows into a group of protesters
for the mass shooting at First Baptist Church.
Marchers took to the streets downtown to protest the latest police shootings.
There was a lot of change, and I think the community, right, was going through its own metamorphosis and growth at that time, just given what was happening in the world, but also as the Columbus community.
In 2017, you were brought on to lead this organization. What was top of mind for you about what YWCA Columbus needed?
YWCA has a long history of activism, and so as I joined the organization, there was a spark kind of lit. We had kind of been a little quiet on the elimination of racism part of our mission. And people were looking to their YWCA, right, for leadership, and people wanted to do something. And we needed to harness that energy.
This is like my vision of what Christy did, is that she came in and she said, I want YWCA at the table in these important conversations. And then you got back to the basics about how have women made change in movements? Activism.
I knew that we had to seize that moment to basically start something positive out of everything that had come that year. Because of the generosity of others, we had resources to stand up the Justice, Equity, and Belonging program. You kind of go back to the founding of the organization, and you think, in 1886, these women came together to start this organization. We stand on that history. And I would always say, hey, we've done hard things in this community. This Y has done hard things. This Y has led some pretty difficult things. We can do this.
Just walking through the building and knowing the generations of women who had been there before me, women who had done so much for other women. They were still there. They were a presence.
As we go forward, every one of us has to get up every day and say, how am I going to make a difference today?
It feels like we're on an island until I kind of open my eyes and see the women who've cared for this organization for decades. They're not going anywhere.